Good morning and welcome to the opening plenary session, AWP and Engineering, the Final Frontier. We're going to discuss how advanced work packaging, or AWP, can be applied to engineering and why it hasn't been to date. Sorry, what's that? You're saying that you already are applying AWP? Wow, you engineers have a better sense of humor than I thought. No, our research showed that nobody is doing proper AWP in engineering, and anyone that claims they are is what Wanda Joe refers to as so far behind that you don't realize you aren't in first place. There are several different levels of AWP maturity for engineering, and while nobody is at the very top level yet, some companies are well on their way. Today we're going to walk through these levels and talk to people who represent companies at different points in their AWP journey. We will start with those entrenched in the status quo, the current way of doing engineering that thinks of AWP as a buzzword. Then we'll hear from those using engineering to support workplace planning, something of a level 1 maturity. Following that, we'll step it up a notch with those using engineering to support basic advanced work packaging to represent level 2 AWP maturity in engineering. And finally, we'll show you what the future could look like by discussing how engineering can support full advanced work packaging across the entire project lifecycle and how engineering can benefit from AWP directly. We are starting today with a brief conversation with Paul Patel, a project manager who has been working in small cap brownfield project management for the same facility in Louisiana for the last 15 years with ABC contractors. Paul also has experience working around the globe. Thank you for joining us today, Paul. We'd like to start off with a chat on what we like to refer to as the status quo within industrial construction. So what does it mean to be doing the status quo of engineering?
It means that it works. Why is CII always trying to reinvent the wheel? You see, you just don't understand how it works, right? AWP in engineering. What does that even mean? The only thing I heard is it costs more money. They say this here 2% for 10%. Well, what is this 2%? Can you tell me that? And I still ain't seen my 10%. I had them there AWPs on that last project, and I tell you what, that project was a project from you know where. There's nothing wrong with the way we're doing it now. AWP is construction. I tell you what, you just don't understand these engineers like I do. And like I said, I can help you out. Give me some budget. You should see my Excel spreadsheet. It is fantastic. Been using the same one since 1992. All you got to do is change the project number. Yes, sirree, Bob. I tell you what, some of them formulas broke. I ain't fixed it yet. I don't know what happened. Hey, you know Excel?
So there you have it, folks. The entrenched view of someone who feels that construction will be better off just by giving them bigger cranes, and that the secret to field efficiency is broken 20-year-old Excel spreadsheets and hand-wash stations in the field. Sadly, Paul has recently announced his impending retirement from the industry because he's going completely off the grid and has bought a plot of land in Alaska to mine Bitcoin. I'm sure that pick and shovel will come in handy, and we all wish him well for the future. Next up, we have some special guests to discuss workplace planning needs for engineering data. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of your projects running over schedule and over budget? Are you still doing engineering the way the Egyptians did to build their pyramids? Then you need AWP, the quick and painless way to save all of your manual processes. Side effects may include improved time on tools, less rework, efficient project progress, and many, many more. For more information, visit www.construction-institute.org.
Welcome back. For our next segment, we're going to be joined by Eric, an engineering manager who has been running design teams on capital projects for the last 20 years and brings a wealth of experience from working across 3 continents. And providing the view from the field, we're delighted to welcome Cassie, who has enjoyed rapid career development in her 10 years working on capital projects, rising from a pipe fitter to general four-person superintendent, and is now a construction manager. They are joining us today via satellite uplink from a project in Kazakhstan, so the picture quality may be a little grainy and the images slightly distorted, but hopefully we'll be able to hear them okay. Eric and Cassie, welcome both of you, and thank you so much for joining us. Today we're going to be discussing the first level of AWP maturity in engineering, which, as we all know, is where engineering is tasked with supporting workplace planning. The first question that I have for you today is, can you afford to not invest in engineering support of construction requirements?
No.
I don't understand the question. We are investing in our support of construction.
Hardly. You're not doing enough.
Let me approach this a little differently. Are you optimizing just your team's work, or are you thinking about the project as a whole?
When engineering gets better, doesn't the project get better? The sooner engineering is done, the better, right?
That's what I've been trying to tell you. It really doesn't work like that. CII has shown through extensive research that when engineering hurries up to get it done, it really ends up hurting the project in the long run. Your job would be easier if you didn't have to go back and make a bunch of changes after issuing, right? We should work to have engineering done properly, even if it takes a little longer, because mobilizing construction personnel is more expensive than engineering work.
Well, we can't work towards only what's most efficient for construction, because that would really add months to the schedule. Not to mention being completely inefficient both for us and procurement.
By not aligning with construction's execution plan, you're already adding months to the schedule. When engineering is done in the wrong order, procurement ends up buying equipment in the wrong order. Did you know we got the heater on site 6 months before we were ready to set it up? Do you have any idea how much space a heater takes up? We basically had to give up our entire laydown yard. It completely screwed up our entire materials management process, and it left us reeling for the rest of the project.
All the construction managers I've talked to in the past have wanted all their material as soon as possible. Nothing is ever easy with you guys. You need to make up your mind.
Look, if we can sit down with the other stakeholders and determine together how to support all of the project functions, we can help the project be more efficient.
If we could get construction's needs early in the project for engineering, then we could better execute the sequence without hindering the engineering design process.
So, advanced work packaging.
All right, maybe you're right. Maybe we should give that a try on our next project. But we need to be sure the client supports it, we have the budget for it, and have project management support.
Welcome back. For our next segment, we're joined by engineering manager Oliver Jones, who has been at the forefront of his company's implementation of AWP for the last 3 years. Oliver was tasked with understanding how to use advanced work packaging and create value for their clients without overhauling all the existing company practices. So far, they've seen some challenges and some successes with bringing AWP onto their projects, and Oliver will share his thoughts and findings with us today. Oliver, thanks for joining us. Let's dive straight in, shall we? With engineering hours per piece of equipment rising steadily, what are you doing to decrease your inefficiencies in engineering?
We've been looking into several initiatives. Firstly, something that's always key, you need to hire quality people. Secondly, we have been looking at standardization wherever we can, including areas such as obtaining vendor support for engineering common mechanical equipment, reusing known templates for standard equipment, and reusing any existing engineering templates to avoid always starting from scratch. Lastly, we are trying to get more construction involvement, targeting constructability reviews to avoid rework.
Those sound great, but they aren't really core tenets of AWP, are they? Have you also been looking into creating engineering work packages and what the contents of those packages should be?
Yes, absolutely. We aim to make sure that EWP contains, at a minimum, scope of work, drawings, specs and standards, 3D model if available, material takeoff, tag lists, terminal points, engineering lists, engineering hours, and vendor documents.
With all of that in mind, what is required from engineering to support basic advanced work packaging?
From our experience to date, it boils down to 4 key areas. 1, we need to know what construction needs and in what order. 2, we need to create and manage engineering work packages. We need visibility to manage progress. And 4, commissioning and startup. This is the area that has been the hardest for us to get traction on.
So how is your company working to accomplish this?
Accept and plan for the learning curve associated with AWP. We need regular training and ongoing reinforcement to comprehend and implement AWP fully. We need full concept to completion collaboration between all project disciplines and entities. No more finger pointing. We need additional activities in P6 and they need to be managed. We need a master engineering deliverable list and it needs to be managed. We need constraint management. More importantly, we need up-to-date and transparent reporting.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to deliver breaking news. I'm getting a report right now saying that, yes, okay, here we go. A chemical facility was able to successfully scale AWP across multiple projects in a portfolio. Okay, and I'm getting a report that the results were a quick startup, improved visibility, scalable process, and reduced manual effort, all while using advanced work packaging software to help implement AWP. And that's our breaking news. Stay tuned for more updates. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. For our final discussion topic today, we're joined by Hugo Bluey, an AWP champion, to discuss what engineering in AWP could and should be. Hugo, thanks for joining us. There seems to be a general consensus that AWP is all about creating benefit for construction and that there is no benefit for engineering. So is this something that you see engineering just having to deal with?
Not at all. And that is exactly the mindset that we have to alter. For too long, historically, the perception within construction circles has been that they are treated as the junior partner and just handed down whatever engineering was done with, like last year's outgrown clothes. Then AWP comes along, and suddenly construction is being elevated in importance to reflect the fact that they are typically the longest duration, highest number of hours, and greatest risk on a project. But that doesn't mean that engineering suddenly becomes a support role for construction, and that AWP is a pill that they just have to swallow. If that's the mindset that they're approaching this with, it will always be hard to get traction. Break the work down into logical chunks and assign those discrete scopes to people who are responsible to complete them. Put constraints on them, clear the constraints, and then execute them, start to finish, without stopping or changing course. We are still too often letting engineering continue to report progress as just simple rules of credit at a discipline level. By taking the same granular approach with DWPs and assigning earnable hours to those packages, we can see progress and performance issues much sooner. We also reduce those huge sawtooth leaps you often see in engineering progress when they hit a large milestone. Alignment and collaboration. We've talked a lot today already about the interdependencies between engineering and construction. We need to be able to draw a clear set of lines between the elements of engineering scope and how they relate to construction. And do that with construction in the room. By organizing the delivery of the engineering scope in a structured, granular way, getting away from unwieldy spreadsheets and 400-page schedules, by eating the elephant one bite at a time, to borrow the old AWP expression, engineering work can be streamlined in the same way that workplace planning does for construction. And believe me, the engineering scope on most projects is an elephant.
We've heard a lot of really good input from our guests here today. So before we go, let's summarize some of the key points. First, AWP is a journey, and everyone's journey will be different. We've seen that there are still a number of interpretations about what AWP is and how it should be implemented on a project. We've covered the 4 levels of engineering support for AWP, starting with the traditional method of throwing drawings over the fence and hoping for the best, followed by providing a well-attributed model to support workplace planning, aligning engineering deliverables with construction requirements to support basic advanced work packaging, and engineering fully embracing AWP to benefit engineering directly, regardless of what's being done in construction. So why hasn't engineering embraced AWP as much as construction has? Firstly, data requirements. Secondly, the engineering team needs to be included early in the project to align engineering deliverables with construction requirements. This is best achieved through the use of engineering work packages and visibility into drawing statuses. Thirdly, you need an engineering team that understands that AWP can benefit them directly by embracing the use of core AWP principles. So how do we get engineering on board? The simple answer, training and money. Training so that they understand that AWP isn't going to flip their entire world upside down. Focus on what doesn't change for them. That is almost never discussed. We just look at the changes and ignore the many ways that their process is unaffected. And money. Incent them to participate. The engineers are going to do what is important to their company. Widen your gaze and change your focus. AWP is not just about construction. If done well, it can be a significant benefit to engineering, regardless of the plans for field execution. When engineering embraces the change, we can start to see improvements that will benefit everyone. If the project wins, we all win. And that's the simple message.